Let me ask you something. What if I told you that one of the biggest intellectual revolutions in history was pulled off by a boy who left home at age 8 and finished his entire life's work by the time he was just 32? Well, get ready, because we're about to dive into the absolutely incredible story of Adi Shankaracharya, the philosopher saint who basically reshaped Indian thought and unified a whole subcontinent. So to really get how huge his achievement was, we gotta go back in time. Picture India in the 8th century. It was this amazing place with tons of spiritual diversity, but that diversity had also created some deep, deep divisions. It was like a chaotic marketplace of ideas, with everyone shouting that they had the one and only truth. And this crisis was serious. I mean, within Hinduism, you had the ritualists who were convinced that only super complex ceremonies could save you. And they were arguing with the Gnostics, who were like, rituals are pointless without real wisdom. On top of that, other powerful philosophies like Buddhism and Jainism were gaining ground, questioning the very core of the ancient scriptures, the Vedas. The whole tradition was splintering into countless warring groups. Yeah, the situation was getting pretty dire. The spiritual fabric of the entire land was starting to tear apart. So the big question hanging in the air was, who on earth could bring some order to all this chaos? Who could create a single unified vision? Well, the answer came in the form of a kid who was, frankly, unbelievable. Meet Shankara. In this timeline, it's just wild. At age 1, while other kids are just babbling, he's speaking fluent Sanskrit. By age 7, when most of us were learning to read, he had completely mastered all 4 Vedas. And then, at just 8 years old, he decides, yep, my life's purpose is to become a sannyasi. You know, a wandering monk who gives up everything to find spiritual truth. So how does an 8-year-old convince his mom to let him just leave? Well, it took something pretty dramatic. The story goes, one day he was bathing in a river when a crocodile grabbed his leg. In that moment of pure crisis, he calls out to his terrified mother and makes this crazy bargain. He says, "Let me become a monk, and this crocodile will let me go." Heartbroken, but totally desperate, she agrees. And the second she gives her permission, the crocodile releases him. It was a sign. His life wasn't just his own anymore. And what was that higher purpose? To teach the world about Advaita Vedanta. Now, Advaita literally just means not two. And here's the core idea, the absolute heart of it. Shankaracharya said that the ultimate reality, this universal consciousness called Brahman, is the only thing that's real, and your individual soul, your Atman, it isn't just a part of Brahman. It's not a reflection of Brahman. It is Brahman. There is zero separation. Now, you might be thinking, how can that be true? I feel separate. Well, to explain this, Shankaracharya used this brilliant analogy. Imagine you walk into a really dark room, and you see what looks like a snake coiled on the floor. You freak out. Your heart pounds. You break out in a cold sweat. That fear is 100% real. But then, someone flips on a light, and you see it was never a snake. It was just a coil of rope. The snake was an illusion. Shankaracharya said our everyday world, with all its separate things and people, is like that snake. He called this illusion Maya. But Brahman is the rope, the one true reality that was there all along. And all of this leads to one of the most profound statements in philosophy, one of the great utterances from the Vedas. Aham Brahmasmi. It means simply, I am Brahman. Now, this isn't some ego trip. It's the exact opposite. It's the ultimate realization that your true self isn't this limited body or mind, but the endless, unchanging, universal consciousness itself. But here's the thing. A philosophy, no matter how amazing it is just an idea sitting on a shelf until it's been tested. So to prove that Advaita was the ultimate truth, Shankaracharya couldn't just write books. He had to walk the length and breadth of India and take on the greatest scholars of his time in intellectual combat. His most famous debate was a showdown with the great scholar Mandan Mishra, and it really got to the heart of the whole conflict. See, Mandan Mishra was all about the path of ritual. He argued the Vedas were basically a heavenly instruction manual. Do these specific rituals and you'll get your rewards. But Shankaracharya argued for the path of knowledge. He said, look, rituals can help, they can purify your mind, but only knowledge, that direct experience of aham brahmasmi, can set you truly free. For days, these two intellectual giants went at it. And the judge of this epic debate? None other than Mandan Mishra's wife, Ubayaba Hardy, who was a brilliant scholar in her own right. In the end, Shankaracharya's logic was just unbeatable. Mandan Mishra accepted defeat, gave up his life as a householder, and became one of Shankaracharya's most important disciples. That was a huge, huge victory. Winning debates was one thing, but Shankaracharya was playing the long game. He knew that for his philosophy to last for centuries, it needed a solid foundation, an actual institutional structure. And this is where the boy genius philosopher reveals himself to be a master organizer, a true visionary for the entire subcontinent. He knew that even the most powerful truth can fade away without a system to protect it. And this was his masterstroke. He established 4 major monasteries called Mathas in the 4 corners of India: north, south, east, and west. He put each one in charge of protecting and teaching one of the 4 Vedas. He literally created a spiritual and intellectual grid that connected the entire country. These places became lighthouses for Advaita Vedanta, and they are still going strong today, over 1,000 years later. And now we come to the most mind-blowing fact of all. He did all of this, mastered the scriptures, built a profound philosophy, crisscrossed India debating everyone, established institutions that have lasted for millennia. He did all of that before he turned 32. It's an achievement that is it's almost hard to comprehend. So, in the end, Shankaracharya's life and his work leave us with this one giant, powerful question. It's a question he wants us to ask ourselves. He's asking us to look beyond the surface of our lives, beyond all the temporary stuff, and really think, if everything we see and feel every day is like that snake in the dark room, a convincing illusion, then what is the rope? What is the one unchanging reality that's always there?